Hello and welcome to another episode of DC Alliance, Chapter 75. Not with me, as always, is Clay. Clay is stuck in a drive through picking up dinner. So I'm going to start the show off. No, this is not superhero discussions. This is just me. So I guess I'll get the network plugged out of the way. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network with podcasts, sometimes 7 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week, sometimes 5 days a week, 8 in total. On Mondays is World's Finest True Believers with Chris Balga. That's where Chris and a guest take a look at the comic of guest choice. I've been on there I think everybody on the network's been on there. It's a great podcast. If you like comics, check that out. That rotates bi-weekly with Ranger Alliance with Clay, who is missing, and rotating guest host of Jake, Tony, and Joe. They look at anything and everything Rangers, Power Rangers, from the comics, and they're in the TV show. The team reviewing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers season 2 right now, and I think they're getting excited for some new stuff. I think there's a panel with Brandon Davis coming soon, so check that out. On Tuesdays is this show, DC Alliance, with myself and most of the time Clay. Not this time. Wednesdays is superhero discussions, where I look at anything, everything animation. I'm into Young Justice right now. You'll get an episode coming out on Wednesday of the first 3 episodes of Young Justice season 4. Clay actually joined me and did show up for that, so check that out. On Thursdays is Star Wars Alliance with Katie and Clay. They look at anything, everything Star Wars. On Fridays is Marvel Alliance with Chris and Brent. They tackle everything Marvel. On Saturdays is a walk through the multiverse with Joe, where he looks at anything and everything that isn't Marvel, DC, or Star Wars. That's great. He's into The Walking Dead. I think he's doing Lock and Key now as well, so check that out. And on Sundays is Slice of Film. That's where Katie and a guest take a look at a movie of a guest's choice, or sometimes it's new movies. So check all that out. On Mondays, DC Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel, normally at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. On Wednesday, Star Wars Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel, normally around 8 p.m. Eastern Time, maybe 7:30 or even 7. And on Thursdays, Marvel Alliance goes live on the Geekverse YouTube channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So check all those out. And also, all 3 of those shows have their own separate podcast feeds. Just search Marvel Alliance, DC Alliance, or Star Wars Alliance to get just those shows. But if you want all the shows, stay subscribed to the Geek Ultimate Alliance on your podcast app of choice. I think I got all the shows, and I'm going to go. We have a Patreon as well, 2 tiers, $1 tier and a $5 tier. The $1 tier is basically a tip jar. You like what we're doing, and you want to help us out any way you can. And the $5 tier is where you get your extras, you get your ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon exclusive episodes. I think that's everything. I think we have a guest. I don't pick the names for the guests, listeners. It's the chosen one. I somehow don't think this is Clay. You have a shirt with your own face. Okay, yeah, that is perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, I am joined by Mr. Travis Snell, I guess, aka the chosen one.
That's how I feel. We have a big trivia battle coming up, and I just feel like all the stars are aligning in my favor. But thank you for having me on. I was supposed to be on here to kind of rub Clay's face in, but here I am saving a show, but I won't be saving November 6th, Heinz. He's just going to be in the mud. I'm just going to be every week that grave gets bigger and bigger. I'm very excited to put him and the rest of his little Ranger cronies in there. I got to put down my 2 titles over here. It's quite a bit. So.
You are definitely dressed for the part. I can't.
Oh, this is what I like
go down
all the time. I just dress like this all the time. So the good thing is you're doing all these plugs. Good job. There's tons of things to talk about. But November 6th, you guys have mentioned it. Lots of other people in the network and lots of other podcast people is our 24-hour extra life charity stream at Geekverse. Now we are doing a trivia battle, and we've been announcing. You can go on the Twitter. There'll be a whole thread eventually of all the players of Clay's teams, my team, everything like that. And we have announced that Taylor Field is going to be hosting the Star Wars Alliance trivia. Chris Balga is going to be hosting the Marvel Alliance trivia, and some people thought, oh, someone might be making a comeback this year, but unfortunately, Scott from DC Squadcast will not, because after much deliberation, me and the lawyers talked about it. We went through his tweets. That's why always people hashtag delete your tweets, and they had seen quite a few hashtags thrown against myself and Geekverse. So unfortunately, he won't be. And good thing, I don't know if he would have shown up now, because as we all know, hashtag Scott fears Travis. So the good thing is I don't got to worry about him this year. Just got to worry about Clay and the Rangers. But I'm very happy to announce that the other Travis, T Squared, Travis from another Canada, you will be hosting the DC Alliance, sir.
Yes, yes, I will. I've known about this for a couple weeks now, so I've been
Mhm.
preparing. I have a bank of 50 questions right now, so I'm in deliberation of what to pick. I may add to them as well. I'm super excited about this. I loved participating last year, minus the fact that listeners, if you screw up one like minor thing, like Katie with Death Star or me with On Your Left, the people will never like Brent has like just randomly sometimes Brent will just send me an On Your Left GIF and I can never live it down. So maybe I may get to stump somebody with an easy question and finally get that power.
He may, like, I couldn't believe it was just 2 weeks ago that he had dropped that. Like, yeah, he really hasn't forgot that, and just like, yeah, we haven't forgot the K thing. So, it happens. But yeah, I'm excited. So, yeah, if people don't know, it's for each category, it's 30 questions, 20 movies, 5 TV, or sorry, 20 movies, 10 TV, and then each team gets 15. There will be steals. Before that happens, we'll give you all the rules and everything like that. And yeah, and if Clay does happen to appear, I have some other fun news. I just want to see his facial reaction for it. But yes, it's going to be a good time. We're trying to raise charity, or we're trying to raise money for charity, $2,500 towards BC Children's Hospital. There'll be multiple head shavings if we hit those goals and stuff like that. And we'll be staying for 24 hours. So if we have any people in the UK that are randomly up on a Sunday or Monday, whatever it is time, please come join us for those wee hours when it's tough, the 3 a.m., 4 a.m. slots, when we're just trying to do anything to keep ourselves awake. Come join the chat, have some fun. I've always said if you can't donate, just spread the link, because sometimes people, that's legitimately how I met Amanda last year and some people from Squadcast. So thank you. Look at this. You know what? I would like to thank Charlie Randall. Amazing entrance now is not ready for that. Teen Titans Earth one. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. See, that's a good thing. Behind, I have so many people that just disrespect me all the time, and I just kind of get used to it now. But yeah, I'm very excited for that to go down. So
I bet you Charlie was a big fan of Ric Flair
he
because
must have
the
been.
entrance that was pure Ric Flair with the championship belts, and then they had to show them across as you're laying them down. Like it's,
Did
I
you
gotta
did
say
you
bravo.
did you hear the music at all?
Oh, I heard it, but it was very hard.
That's good, because you don't want to get copyright, one, and two, that was all Mr. Hines, because he said, oh, it's something, I'm surprised he doesn't use music, and you know what, it's going to be something I'll be using for it. So I'm happy to fill the void till Clay I think he knew I was coming on, and he was hoping he would avoid me and I'd leave. But no, I'm going to stay on, because I have a nice a little, like, just a small announcement to give to him, and I just want to see his face, because it's just going to be, the odds are further stacked against him coming November 6th. And I think for his team, he should probably just throw in the white flag, but or the white towel. But he's a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, he upset you in the Rocket League match, and I think he got a
Mm,
little excited about that and didn't quite live up in the second round. I kind of maybe brought him down, but we can also say it could be the fact he's trying to run away from the Titans review because he just
that's
doesn't
true.
want to let the season go. He loved it that much.
Yeah,
That could very well be it.
he's
But
probably watching it again right now.
now that I got you, I guess I want to ask you something because we had news come out today and a very interesting news. And you said this kind of ratcheted up your excitement level for this
Mm.
property. Brendan Fraser was cast as DC's villain Firefly in the Batgirl movie. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Uh, does it? Why does that excite you more about the movie now?
Well, because I've been it's probably because I was a '90s kid. I was a massive fan of Brendan Fraser, the Mummy movies, George of the Jungle. I love. It's a stupid, crazy movie, but the Bedazzled movie that he did with Elizabeth Hurley with the Six Wishes and the Devil. Like, I was just a Brendan Fraser kid, and I loved everything he did. Not so much that's Looney Tunes movie; it was fine, but it sucked when he, and he's told a story that he went through a lot, physical stuff, emotional stuff, some abuse in Hollywood, and it's just it's nice from like a personal level to see like he's had this comeback. And it's funny, it kind of felt like I'd have to go back, but I feel like it really did start with Doom Patrol. So it's kind of funny that it's a DC thing. Like he did that voice, obviously appears here and there, but he started there. And just the fact that he keeps getting more and more kind of out there. He's in some other movies. And in Batgirl, to me, like Firefly, he is a good enough villain. But when you put someone interesting as Brendan Fraser, like, okay, what's he gonna do? What's the route he gonna take? Is it gonna be something very serious? Is he gonna I think he's gonna probably chew up the scenery. And I think it's just I it's a villain choice that I you didn't see coming, and that's what I like, and I'm very interested. And I think like Brendan Fraser maybe is not the biggest star in the world anymore, but his name's definitely been rising. So I think it makes people go, oh, he's in that. And yeah, I think it's I don't want to say perfect casting because I don't know what they're gonna do with Firefly. Firefly could easily be like Black Mask, where they go and they change up a lot of things. But I think it's really fun casting. It's interesting. It right away gets you on your toes. Like, okay, I wouldn't have picked that, but let's see what they do.
I have to do this just in Brent's honor, but it was a DC legacy casting.
Hmm.
Not that long of a legacy, but I love him in Doom Patrol. I think he's fantastic. And like you said, I've loved him in Georgia Jungle and the Mummy movies. And I actually agree with you about Bedazzled. Like
Oh yeah.
I was a Brendan Fraser fan as well, and it's nice to see him get more parts. I'm curious about, is this going to be an established Firefly that's already had interactions with Batman, or is this going to be he's going to have an origin now and she'll have to deal with him and like he'll be associated with her? I'm really interested in that fact. Or will this be a very well established Firefly? That's the most curiosity I have there.
Well, I think it all depends too on like what they're gonna do with the world and everything like that, because they keep saying there'll be a Batman in it. I don't know if there'll be a Batman in present day in it. I've really questioned that. I feel like it could be a flashback, whether it's Keaton, whether it's Affleck. And I think you could have like that's a good thing if they do Affleck's Gotham, even if they do Keaton's and like Keaton's replacement. I think they're gonna establish that this guy's maybe been around for a little bit. I don't know if he's gonna be top priority or it's somebody that like, hey, if a Batman's missing, maybe he rose. Because I hated in Birds of Prey, the lead up to the movie like interviews would ask Kathleen Hahn, like, or Kathy Yan, sorry, of, hey, where is Batman? And like, oh, he's missing. They pulled the Batwoman thing, right? Like, oh, he's missing. I'm like, okay, I like that. But then the movie, they never referenced it once. They never referenced that
No.
Batman's not around and stuff. And I think that's a fun storyline. So I think he's someone that could be established. Maybe he was established, went to prison, and he's getting out, and he's like needs one last job or one last. Like the thing is with Firefly, he's kind of obsessed with fire. So I don't know if they'll make him like a criminal that is doing things to gain money, gain income, or is it going to be like I just like to light stuff on fire?
So, but could it be he could just be like the secondary villain, and you could have a bigger villain pulling behind the streets, behind the scenes, like paying him to do the job. That's a
Well,
possibility as well. I don't know if he's going to be the main and only villain. I feel like there could be somebody a bit bigger at play here.
it's interesting because Boris Kit, when this came out first, he said that, oh no, I've actually heard he's playing Carmine Falcone. Then he checked with Warner Brothers and they said no, he's playing Firefly. But I do wonder if he has some sort of casting grid or if he's heard that Carmine is possibly in it. I still find it strange that Carmine would be in it considering he's just going to be in the Batman. And I know the multiverse and all that stuff, but usually I still think they like to try to, with the villains, make it a little different. So I could see him. I think he will be the main villain in the sense of he'll get the most screen time. That's what I'll say. I think the main story will be there, but I could see someone bigger pulling the strings or something like that. I don't know who it would be. I'm just waiting for a Rupert Thorne live action appearance, like they did with Harley. I think he'd be perfect. We got
Oh, he's fantastic
yeah, we've
in the
got
animation.
Maroni, we've got Falcone. So I think he'll get the most screen time though. That's what I think.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. That tracks. I gotta say though, this kind of made me super excited for it. And like you said about the Batfleck thing, you can just have like for Birds of Prey, for example, Harley could have walked down the street after losing that breakfast sandwich and just saw on a TV screen Justice League, like in a certain area doing something. Then
Yeah.
Batman's away.
Yeah.
That's all you
Well,
need to do. We're not asking to see Batman. We just, you can just tie that little bow so quickly and easily. And I hope they do that here if they don't have Batman in the movie.
Well, John points out, and I do want to say, actually, I shouldn't even be showing John's comment because I saw his trash he threw to me on day of Twitter talking about Scott's side, Clay's side. No, no, you're on the wrong side of history, folks. That's what's gonna happen November 6th. All those tweets go, oh, I really made a mistake tweeting trash like that. I'm sorry, I apologize. I won't accept it, by the way. But he does point out one thing as far as you guys talked about last week. J.K. Simmons is confirmed for this movie. It's very like Flash, because so Flash is November. Batgirl's not dated yet, right? It's just sometime in the future. Obviously, I feel like I don't want to say next year, but I feel like they're about to go into production soon-ish. If we're getting Simmons is in, they talked about the hair, they talked about Frasier's in. Clearly, they're getting really, and most of the time when people have been cast, they've been cast a lot longer than we heard. Like it's not
Yeah.
just hey they cast him. It's like Brandon Fraser's probably had this role for at least a month, maybe two, and now they're letting it out there because maybe they're about to go shoot. So it is interesting because we've talked about this since day one when we did that emergency cast like a year and a half ago of Keaton was back. When we've talked about, okay, with Flashpoint, is Keaton's Batman the Batman, or is it just a multiverse that Barry can just travel to? If you're using Batgirl's canon, now I lean a bit more towards, okay, maybe Keaton's universe is just off to his side and he could travel to. Because I was someone that did say I think Affleck would die and they would do a Days of Future Past, and when Barry gets back, the Batman would be Keaton. But it would be strange if like it would be strange, but hey, Fox X-Men did all this type of weird stuff too. If Keaton was the Batman and J.K. Simmons was the Gordon,
Yeah, that
it
would
would be
be a little off for me just to see them interact.
it would be very off. But I guess you could, if you wanted to, though, and people, I know the DCU people are going to hate this, you could play it off as they both started as Batman and Gordon when they were both really young guys, even though I feel like that still doesn't track because I feel like in if we're going back to Burton's universe, Gordon was already an older gentleman at the time of those movies, right? Pat Hingle. So it's just like I'm very interested to see what Flashpoint like really does continuity and multiverse wise. If there's changes or if they just keep the kind of like the CW, like, oh, you can travel to Keaton anytime. Like anytime you need him, he'll open up a portal and look,
little
I'm here.
button.
Yeah, so it's and Affleck. I'm not saying Affleck dying is not off the table. I think with Batgirl being coming up, that could be a full on reason for her as like Gotham needs a hero sort of cliche, right? And she's gonna step up in honor of Batman. So
Like I said, I could not be more excited about this. And HBO Max are lining up a lot of uh, young actors and actresses and young up and coming directors for some of these HBO Max DC properties.
mhm.
And I'm here for it. That's something that I think is very interesting because I feel like while they're putting these properties out on HBO Max, I don't feel like they're as overmanaged as the theatrical properties can be at times,
Well,
which I
it's
think is a good thing.
yeah, I agree, and I think it's the same thing. Like, not they're going to talk about this week, but with Star Wars and Hayden Christensen come back to Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, you still have some people that maybe don't like the prequels, or Hayden Christensen gets a lot of memes. He's not trying to sell a movie. He's already on a service that you're going to watch, and it's like you have no risk there because the thing is, Hayden Christensen either comes in and he sucks. People go, oh, okay, he's still not the greatest actor, or he kills it, and then you go and get Disney Plus because of that. Same thing with Batgirl. If you see Batgirl, especially like we talked about this before, Blue Beetle, like some of the or the Justly Dark that they've kind of been rumored, those could track and be big hits, but I don't think those are sellers just on the name. That is like a word of mouth thing of like, hey, everyone's talking about Blue Beetle, I have to see it. Batgirl, that name, that symbol, that's something that people would go buy a subscription just to see the Batgirl movie, and just to see all these things. JK being in it is very intriguing. I'm not the biggest fan of directors, but I like, and you look at this because I was listening to fans today, which luckily, both on Team Wolves. So just high five. As I said before, we can't talk about sports team because I meant to mention Packers and Lions as a bonding between me and Ray, but it really was just a soft spot. So I won't mention the Lions ever again until after now. But they had talked already, like, I don't know when Batgirl's coming out, but you look at what you got: the Batman in March, you got Black Adam coming out, you got Flash and Aquaman, barring no like pushes or anything like that. You got all those, and Batgirl could even tentatively be next year, plus like Peacemaker, all their shows. Like maybe DC after, I say, like even after Justice League, what, you only got Aquaman right after Justice League, right? It was like one movie, one DC movie, but whatever kind of lull they were in is like trying to figure it out. They may not have a plan, but they got a plan to push content, and that's one of the best things. If we got all these movies, and then you got background, I think it does smart to like you got these young heroes, and I think they will cross over into movies, some of them at least.
Yeah, same here. And I hope they take a page from Marvel's book for that, and we have these characters interact. I guess while I still have you here, the other
Mhm.
thing I wanted to ask you about is what do you think about DC fandom getting 66 million global views compared to 22 million from last year? What do you think that adds anything to the making it a success? Because I thought that the overall layout of fandom was not good this year.
Well, it's tough because they did clarify at least because they're like, no, the trailers are separate. Like that's not the thing. So that's good. I can believe that. Again, it's always tough. What counts as a view in their eyes? Because Netflix, they're changing up now. But for Netflix, it was like you only have to watch 2 minutes and that counts as a view. And it's like, okay, so that feels like it's a little, in a movie theater, you could watch 2 minutes and go return your ticket. It doesn't count towards the box office. So I think whether it's good or bad, it'll be more reflective of the numbers next year. I think it shows one DC fandom last year did really well because it's become an event already. But I think even when you have a bad conference or a bad showing, I don't think it was all bad. I think that if you do well enough and you make it big enough a name, people are going to tune in no matter what, just to see. I think we even talked about in the GUA chat that next year I don't know if we do the whole watch long without a schedule again because there was a lot of slog and there's a lot of stuff of like, hey, do we really need to be doing this? We could just like podcast right after. So I think there will be a lot less people tuning in next year just for the full thing, but I could see them countering and actually putting out a schedule again next year. So it's tough because the trailers, they're right on YouTube right away. So even myself who loves this, I don't think I'd need to watch fandom because I would just have to look at my feed and know, oh, Black Adam's up next, or let's say whatever, whatever the next Harley Quinn movie's up next. I would just know, okay, in 5 minutes it's going to be on YouTube. I'll watch it, and that's what you don't want. They should have even for a day had them like exclusive for that feed, so you had to click on it, but they didn't right away.
No, that's
You
just
know,
smart stuff. But then they're expecting people will just rip that off and put it on anyway. Some
100%,
you
right?
just
So you're in
screen
it's
record,
tough.
or
Yeah.
it's tough. But like I said, last year at least with the panels, we'd watch a panel and oh, this panel's not interesting to us. Okay, let's get off and talk about what we just watched. This really cool panel. That stuff.
Mhm.
It will seem like it was laid out perfectly for us kind of fans compared to this one. It was just trying to get us to watch the entire thing.
So I got a question for you because next year, 2 years in a row, they've had to be like we whatever happens at DC, blah blah blah. We got stuff to show, but we got the Batman to close off both years. They do fandom next year. They will not have the Batman to close off next year. What would you think of them being like? What would be their heavy hitter main event? Like, what would close fandom 2022 next year? You think without the Batman,
I
the
assume
Batman 2?
I assume Aquaman
Hmm.
probably because that is people don't think about it, but that is their highest grossing movie, DC
Yeah,
movie ever.
biggest DC
So
movie all time. It beat the Nolan movies, everything.
and like Ispub says in chat, I don't know. I don't think there'll be the Batman 2 teaser trailer, but there'll definitely be announcements and talking about that.
Yes.
We'll maybe even get a Joker or whatever cast list. I that's something that I think it will not hit like the Batman. So I don't think they should design their stream to have people waiting to watch the Aquaman trailer.
I wonder if that was part of the reason, because for me, I think it's Flash. And I wonder if that's part of the reason of like leaning back a bit on not fully showing Keaton. At the same time, I guarantee you we will see Keaton in the back suit before the next
Oh,
fandom. But
100%.
yeah, it's gonna happen. But I just mean like a bigger showing. I could see if they're happy with it, I could see the Flash being that movie. Because well, it's tough though, because yeah, Aquaman is supposed to come out next year too. So it's the thing of like, when do
Oh,
they? Oh, he shows up. I'm gonna make my point, and then we'll address. Look at this guy. He's wearing a Captain America shirt on DC show. You should at least wear like some of a True Hero. You can get your Travis Told You shirts right now.
Uh, why
T
is there
Public.
so much shit on your shirt?
What? T Public right now. Oh no, that's just glorious. That is like, oh, my lawyers text me right now talking about how you don't have your friend Scott hosting. That's fine. But my last point about fandom is it all depends on when they do it. Because Aquaman and Flash is in November. If they do in October again, like this year, September, whatever, it might change what they show. Maybe they have a bigger movie already in production for the following year. But if it's in August or something like that again, I could see it being Flash. So that's my prediction. So I'm gonna jet because I'm gonna let you guys show you guys got to talk about the great Clay's favorite show, Titans. But as we announced,
Oh,
Clay, that
you
Hines,
mean Snell's favorite show that he swears he wants to see at least 6 more seasons of this because
I'm
of
fine. I always can go for more dick. That's fine with me. You know, I actually haven't even I haven't actually seen the last 3 episodes. I'm gonna get around to it at some
Don't
point.
do it. Save yourself.
As somebody that I think is
Oh,
like the least hateful in the show, I haven't
I
seen it.
want no. I
Oh.
want a Snell thought bubble on this
Yeah.
finale.
I need
I'll
to see,
watch
not
it.
the finale, the penultimate episode, because some of the stuff that happens there, basic writing 101, that doesn't make sense. So I'd be really curious about your
Yeah,
thoughts.
I want to see more of this, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this because I'm just super pissed off. I was trying to go pick up dinner, and I just bumped into some really incompetent restaurant owners. So
had
that is why I'm late. I apologize,
now.
everybody.
Didn't you have one more announcement to kind of dig
Yeah,
into
so
Clay there?
Hines is going to be hosting DC trivia. That's great. And he's going to do the right thing, just like all the other hosts. And then Clay, unfortunately, I was informed by the lawyers that Joe, your Ranger Alliance co-host, will no longer be making it. So you are now down a man, sir. So you got a couple more weeks to respond. And I know the
Man.
lawyers say your list's getting
Wait,
pretty
is Joe
thin.
on
so-
your team?
Yeah, Joe was
No,
on my team.
he was on his team, but he can no longer make it. Something about he has to go to jury duty because maybe somebody in Canada. I know nothing about it. I don't know nothing about Job not being able to be there anymore. That has
Joe's on the envelope full
I would
of
never
Canadian 20s.
I would never pay off anyone to get what I want. But
Oh,
that's a
you
good
mean
thing.
like Taylor, and now you're hinting something towards Hines, my own
No,
co-host?
they're just gonna
Man.
do the right thing. So you got a few more weeks. So you ready? You gonna be able to find some people, huh?
Hey, I told you I never needed a team, but I really appreciate it. I know that
Sheldon.
these guys, I care about these guys a whole bunch. They have my back just like I have their back. And I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. I'm gonna have a lot of fun kicking your ass. So
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
it'll be fun.
Well, and I hope I heard some whisperings that you say you may have something next week, but I don't believe you. I think that's fake. I think that's a fake announcement. You're like DC, you know, it's not real.
There's nothing to say back to that.
I mean, not to the DC comment or the WB comment,
But is it true these rumors you having an announcement next week?
Well, maybe.
Mm.
It all depends.
Keep it close to the vest. I like it, Clay. I like
Well,
it.
I'm gonna go do. Oh, look, my Marvel Alliance co-host is here, bringing some class to the table because it was great with me and Hines, but then Clay came in and ruined. So, Chris, I'll talk to you later. You all have a good night here. You know?
Thank you for joining us.
I love the shades.
Yeah, it was really shiny with the belts too. It kind of was blinding for a second. I wonder if I should have got sunglasses.
I mean,
but I
when
didn't think it would play
when
well.
we're in the presence of greatness, I mean, come on.
No,
I just want to say one other thing
I
before.
just got here, Chris. I just
Oh,
got
wow.
here. Yeah.
To the listeners, we know about the Ruby Rose story, but until more things come out about it, because you have both sides digging in.
That's
with-
like more things. How much more things do you want?
I don't know if I want any more things
well,
to
I
come
can't
out.
make a judgment because
You know
I
what,
have
let's- 'cause
cast
are-
members
are-
on
are
one
we-
side and factual stuff on the other. So I think we should wait a little while to let this unfold a bit longer before we.
Are we
talk
still
about that.
waiting for one more host to jump in?
I
here?
don't think he's gonna. He got to suffer just like the rest of us.
Okay,
so-
well, before he gets here, let's just talk about it very briefly. Nothing too, again, these at this point we are not entirely
Ad.
sure. Oh well, yeah, we do need to throw in an ad here. So, listeners, we don't choose the ads. We don't choose how many times it repeats if it does, and we don't choose the volume. So we will be right back. All right, so. I will be completely honest with you guys. I've already made my piece on Twitter and talked it out with Abby and everything else. Everything with Ruby Rose, if true, completely horrible, and it should not happen to anybody, no one in a working environment. But by golly, is everything stacked against her.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything. And not only is it just like actors throwing mud at each other, because you can see that drama wherever. You can see it in freaking reality TV, you know? But the fact that like the studio and then the production and everything in between is doubling down against her, it's not great. Now, I am not gonna lie, and after everything that people have said, it does beg the question: is she genuine with the stuff that she is saying?
Well, she put out a lot of stuff.
I didn't read the
backing it
second
up.
article.
Well, there's a lot of emails and a lot of things about her having to go do things just after having surgery and stuff. So I don't, like I said, the second article made me pause because of how much she dropped on Instagram. So I don't know if there's legal action potentially being taken against her by Gray Scott and maybe even Greg Berlanti from what she was saying. So I don't even know. Like this hasn't the Ray Fisher stuff did not you had no
The
cast.
The Ray Fisher stuff didn't hit this level. Like as far as publicly,
Yes, there you go.
I don't necessarily. With everything. With the way CW and WB are responding, this is PR Plan 101 in the sense of if she was fired for being quote unquote difficult on set. They've got that they'll continue to throw at her at that point as their one card to say, hey, she's difficult. She's just going after stuff. But when you throw this stuff, counter stuff like that, there's got to be some truth within. I don't doubt that there's not some truth within it. It's just it's pretty vicious stuff that's been put out there.
In to that, it's just like I said, I don't know at this point who to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's always you want to believe the victim.
Yeah.
We when I say we, me and my co-host for Batman News Weekly talked about it. And we don't want it to be this way, but if there's even a iota of a chance of Ruby Rose kind of like crying wolf and faking all this to get the attention, that doesn't look. I'm not saying that she is. I'm just saying if it does end up like this, it doesn't look great for the future of anybody else attempting to call out this kind of behavior on set.
I don't know about that. I can see that this is a lot more heightened of a time, so that I don't think that'll stop that. And also, I don't know how we'll know that she's not telling the truth when she's sharing medical things about her as well. I don't know.
Again,
like I
and
said,
my tone can completely change after I read this article tonight. That's what I mean.
Well, I don't want to pause and hold this any longer because Brent just got here and we're going to suffer through this as quickly as we possibly can, maybe. I don't know.
I'm here.
You're here, Brent and Chris, both from Marvel Alliance. Thank you for joining us, living up to the blood
we honor
pact
our
we
agreement
made, that we will review the season finale of Titans. And I have one question to ask you guys. If you open up a door and attempt to walk down 13 stairs and you fall and roll down 12 and land on your feet for the 13th, does that really count as a successful attempt down the stairs?
It's falling with style.
Can we say that this show landed on its feet?
Okay, hang on. Before we get into it, I have to say something. Before we start, I'm going to interrupt you. Sorry, I'm taking over your show for 10 seconds. Chris and I definitely talked, and we more or less were like, they should be reviewing Titans. Like, there's no reason they shouldn't be, so we're going to egg them on, right? I would like to formally apologize on both of our behalves for goading you into this commitment to review this show weekly, because let's call it what it is. This was a bad season. Its best episodes were mostly boring, with maybe one exception, which I'll say half of it I liked. To answer your question, Travis, this was a horrible dismount down the stairs. I don't know what they're doing. They should have just gone on a slide or something. No.
See, I don't think you land on your feet on the last one. I think you land on your face and just don't break any other bones. Like, that's
some of the stuff I saw leading up to the finale was a lot worse than the actual finale, I think.
Now I'll say this in the sense of, okay, yes, looking, hindsight's 2020. Yeah, we regret egging you on at that point, but I think in our intentions, yes, it was having a little fun, but at the time, it was just like, we're reviewing, a show. Yes, DC, Disney Plus shows at that point that, yes, not comparable, but we wanted to just say, hey, here's some, prime content at that point that's not CW, at that point, not knocking CW, but here's content. We have our drills about it, but that our intentions were, hoping for the best.
You were hoping for, well, I know Brent was hoping that we had to review another bad finale. I didn't think he was hoping for the season we
guys,
got.
and you need to hear it from me as the pessimist on the show.
No,
I was hoping for a good season 2.
We all were.
Yeah.
Like
3.
I said this from the very beginning. Like before we even finished reviewing episode 1, I was like, how great would this be, like laughing wise, if the last episode was amazing, but the rest of the season was crap. I hate jinxing us like that. It was horrible, but like I really wanted this show to land on its feet.
It's such a disappointment because look at the elements of this show. Okay, in my opinion, you have a solid cast. I think the cast works, all of them,
Yes.
including Jason, all of them. I think it's a solid cast. You have great action set pieces. You have amazing costume work, right? I mean, the costume designs. I mean, does anyone really have any legitimate complaints about the costume designs on this show?
The only two that I would say I have a little bit of a problem with is, well, actually, not even two. It's one. Is Gar needs a suit. Like I want something.
He needs a
that's-
suit, but that's, to me, that's even more on the writing team because they're writing them into their costume personas. Like they're getting them the right. The second they're like, okay, give them a costume, they have a kick-ass design that they're going to give Gar, and they have all these elements, and they just can't get out of their own way. It's just the writing on the show is so bad. This should have been an amazing season. Barbara Gordon's coming, Scarecrow's coming, Jason Todd, we're doing the Red Hood. Like, okay, yes, sure, it's really a Batman show with Titans guest stars, but it should have been such a good season. And instead, it was just so bad and so boring. And you get crap like the Bats picking up a dead Dick Grayson and flying him to a Lazarus pit.
Why did they come, Brent?
When you
Why did they
messaged,
oh my
come,
God.
Brent?
when you messaged everybody saying, I just read this description. Nobody tell me if it's real, but I swear to God, if it's real, I am done with this show. I wanted to cry.
Oh my God,
So
I could
hard.
not believe it. That is one I would, that it's on me. Like not blaming spoilers. I know the rules. I know how it is. The content was out there. I'm gonna get spoiled on stuff. It happens. When I saw this description, I thought it was parody. I thought it was fake, and I'm like, oh,
Not with this show.
It's
No.
actually true. Oh my,
The logic for something we've been begging for 3 seasons was crazy.
I
to
felt
me.
like I felt like this season's writing was not only bad, but it was very negligent to its continuity. To like, because we're joking for the fact that like Nightwing came into the Lazarus pit with his Nightwing costume and then out in his like dreamscape button-up black suit, which
I've
was
only ever
crazy.
seen that happen in Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I don't think the
But-
same logic applies to Titans.
But
No,
also
no, no.
immediately after that, he knew Donna was alive, even though nothing in the Lazarus pit told him that she was alive. And then in the finale, which I guess we're gonna kind of just jump in here and kind of go wherever with it, we see Scarecrow in the Batcave. An explosion in Gotham happens, and then he's right on the street. That happened in the finale. And I'm just like, how do you miss this?
I think one of the biggest problems, and it was one of our worries about this season when they moved the Titans to Gotham, and it didn't go down where we thought it was going to go, but it ended up being, okay, the shadow of the Bat is a huge shadow that is cast over this. Bruce may not be there, but he's ever present. The whole history is ever present. And I think, like we keep on saying, the writing was just very choppy. And the fact that, we know who Red Hood's going to end up being. But it almost felt like a CW flash issue. It's like, oh, we're going to do the death of Jason Todd and Red Hood at that point. It's going to be really cool at that point. Well, you got it done in like 3 episodes. It seemed just I wasn't expecting a huge drag out, but I was expecting just a little bit more for general audiences and just to kind of buy into it just a bit more.
Yeah, some of the characters, when I think about it, like when they were announced at the start of the season to now, like Scarecrow. Well, we got to spend a couple minutes on Scarecrow, but Bruce.
You mean Edward Nigma?
Bruce? We can't even call him that. Bruce Wayne.
No, I can't even. That offends me as a Riddler fan.
I don't even understand like the roller coaster Bruce Wayne went on to the point where the last
I have
time
no
we
idea
saw
what
him,
happened with him. I have
the last
no
time we
clue
saw
what
him,
happened.
he was trying to kill himself.
He was trying to kill himself,
and then he comes
and
back.
then he's
with-
and then he's in
Upset me
limbo.
really badly
Like,
at that point. Oh my gosh.
It's so frustrating when you see it, Brett. You show your point before too. It reminds me a little bit of F4. So much potential there, and what we got was absolute. But you look at that cast for Fantastic Four, like the F4 movie.
Wait, Fan Four Stick? Because
Fan Four Stick, yeah.
Okay, I haven't seen that one. So
Well, it had potential, like the actors, the
mean-
CGI is not off or anything. It's not terrible. Like the costumes, like none of that was bad to me. It was just a complete directional mess, and this is the same thing here, like writing and directing. It doesn't make sense, half of this stuff, and you get a good moment, but it's so hard to enjoy because you're smack dab into a couple bad ones right after. This finale was over in 30 minutes. So even though we didn't get teasing into anything really, minus the Titans going back to San Francisco, I figured we would get maybe an actual something to do with Roy Harper or something to do with who he works for, like actually seeing him.
well,
Nothing like
they
that. lead
they
in.
mentioned Roy Harper, but they mentioned him directly with correlation of Argus.
I thought he
So
was running Argus from the mentions that they
Which came out of nowhere, by the
Yes.
way.
Well, and that's the
Like
thing.
a lot
this-
of the season came out of
this,
nowhere.
This is clearly like. Unfortunately, I feel like there's a lot of things in the finale, which is it's supposed to happen for a finale anyway. But you're setting up to things that I'm not looking forward to. I still think there is a possibility for something to spin off with Red Hood. Now it looks like there's a possible spinoff for Donna Troy as well with Argus. And I don't know what they're wanting to do with the show. I don't know what they think the show is. That's the problem that I have.
There's just like we said, the show got lost in itself. They had these grand ideas with the Red Hood. I think Scarecrow was overused so much, and they could have necessarily taken this to be. They could have had two different villains for this season, and they didn't need Scarecrow to be dragged out as much as they had. They could have had Jason really take over. I was expecting him half at the point, but adding more characters to
Frank,
West.
yeah, it's the worst idea, and
Well, it's a Game of Thrones problem.
Well, I was telling this to Travis last episode is for the fact that like I think with the success of Young Justice, you're like, ooh, clearly people want this kind of content. Let's do it in live action. There's things that an animated show can do that a live action cannot do. Like there was reports of, I believe, I can't remember his name, the actor who was playing Hank, Hawk.
Alan Richardson, I think.
Yes.
His name is.
There was an interview where he said, "Oh, well, there was plans for a spinoff because there was too many people on the show." That's ultimately what's going to keep happening if you keep putting more people here. People are going to either get kicked off, pushed into the background, completely forgotten. And it's like, why even do it if you're going to place that onto your other characters and other actors,
Well, look what they did with Dawn in this season. She was written out. We never saw or heard from her again. She just...
Which is so depressing.
How do they not bring her back to confront Jason at the end of it? By the end of this season, how do they not... I can't believe I never would have imagined me saying this, but in a show with Tim Drake and Superboy and Dick Grayson, the best characters were Hawk and Dove.
Oh,
Hawk and Dove.
Yeah.
They were the
And
best
now they
characters
are
on the show, and they wrote them both off. They killed one, and they wrote her off. And you know what? When they killed him, it was a compelling story. Like it
Yes.
worked. Like it was a good comic book death, right? And then they give us this really cool episode to like send off his character. Well, that half of the episode, the Raven
Yeah.
Rachel crap was dumb, but
Much like, unfortunately, with the character.
the stuff with
Yeah.
Donna and Hawk and even Tim in that scenario, that was cool, good television. But it's like, okay, well, we had good, cool television for what amounted to maybe a combined 2 episodes out of the 12 or 13, whatever it was. And I just don't understand why you write off your 2 strongest characters.
The ones you were going to do a spin-off with, you just got rid of. I don't know if it's because they may get the highest salary. They're the most established of the actual Titans crew. So I don't know if that could come into play, especially like when you sign
Probably.
these people for their opening deals. Like those are going to get people are going to get more because they have spin-off type things.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, really enjoy Conor Leslie as an actress. I think she does
Yes.
a great job at that point. Besides, okay, we got to bring back the lightning, and this time it's okay because she's grounding herself.
Oh, stop it! Stop
So
it!
corny.
Stop it!
So corny.
I shared it.
But hold on before you start diving down that. I think that she can carry, a smaller ensemble. I think she's very dynamic at that point. But it even with Superboy, the whole thing with Superboy blowing up the ship and then okay, we're all cool. Okay, that's dumb.
That was to me, they really took a lot of the Superboy comic book from the 90s and his relationship with Knockout,
Yes.
who
Yeah.
was a very strong female character that he basically became infatuated with, and she more or less sent him down a very bad path. To me, they were drawing from that heavily for Blackfire. And I will tell you, I could not have cared less. Like, I hate the Raven character. Well, like Blackfire and Starfire are just a notch above her, right? I'm like, they're just so boring to me. But at least visually, they have cool looking powers. And I got to say, like, I feel like something with Blackfire, like, they didn't immediately make her the bad guy. She wasn't immediately trying to betray and kill everybody. There were times she genuinely helped him. I feel like they have potential. They just can't. They just can't seal the deal. They just can't. It's like they need someone else to take a pass at the scripts and say, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense.
They need to get some of the writers of the actual stuff to kind of take a look at it and say, what are you? I don't want necessarily page to screen. I don't need that. I'm okay with adaptation. But when this mess of a season, it's just like spinning off these characters. Like, okay, we're saying like some of the characters are spinning off. Okay, we could be somewhat compelling, but when you're leaving it with this show and we're spinning off from this, that doesn't leave a good amount of taste in anyone's mouth.
No, Doom Patrol got out when at the best at season 1. Got a spin off from them, but this is just a mess.
Comments saying, I think we'll get a Red Hood and Wonder Girl spinoff, and it's no matter of if, but a matter of when. And then John said Donna was going to Paris to see Don, so maybe a spinoff with those two.
You could do Donna a very similar style to Jessica Jones from Marvel Netflix.
I think
you could do something
I
very
think they
similar
could.
to that.
I'm scared because I'm sure they will keep writing the electricity jokes into the ground because they just can't stop now. I said, you acknowledge it once, it's funny because it's the one thing about, I mean, there was 2 or 3 things about last season's finale, but that was the big thing, the one thing everybody tripped out about. So acknowledging it like this, it was funny. Okay, we get it. You acknowledge it a second time. Okay, you're treading water. You need to calm down. But then to put it again into the finale, like, oh, look, she's not going to die this time. Like,
I thought it wouldn't because I thought it was just because she used the lasso. But I have a question for you guys. Did you think Raven making a ball or picking up the Lazarus pit, did it bother you at all that she didn't do that and pick up Dick and bring him to the Lazarus pit in the previous episode?
Why
Like,
bother? The bats did it for her.
Yeah, the bats are doing the work.
But she
for her,
attempted to do something, and
she
then
can
just
teleport. She doesn't even have to pick him up. She can teleport.
I have
No,
never
what-
seen this. person
Honestly, what
before.
really bothered me was her like I can't even explain what they did, but somehow sending the Lazarus pit into the clouds so it would rain because every other time they show a character coming back to life, they have to be like submerged in the Lazarus
Yes.
pit, right? But you get a couple raindrops on you, no problem. You're back to life.
It's all good.
Like they didn't. I mean, and what does the Lazarus pit typically do? It drives people mad. And did they just drive half of Gotham City mad? And what about the effects when it fell on people who it was just.
Dick did get driven mad. He came out like the hunky dory. Everything's all good with new clothes. So
But
you also
also
need
with
to remember
Jason-
Gotham's already crazy, guys.
With
Gotham's
Jason,
already crazy.
True.
with Jason, he went in and Scarecrow's like, we had to get him in. We like don't have like they were rushing to get him in, make sure he got him in before. And these people were dead for a day, almost. I don't know,
Hours?
like 5, 10, 12
I don't
hours,
know.
and then a couple of specks come out of. So did they all go through that same dreamscape type?
I would say there's some precedence for Lazarus pits that it depends on the story of how long do you or how fast you have to get them in there. There's been stories where Bruce was more or less threatened with his parents' bodies being chucked into, and at that point they would have been dead and decomposing for decades.
Yeah.
So I'll forgive him that, but I don't know where this weather crap came from. And if the bats weren't the worst part of the show, the Lazarus weather was.
I
it's those two
didn't
moments
like
for me.
the joke that they attempted with the storm. Not with the actual creating of the storm, but the idea of the storm. So they thought of the idea off screen. They ran to Dick Grayson and said, "Hey, we have an idea. Do you remember that miracle you were asking for?" And then it showed the audience what they went through before they talked to Dick. And Superboy was like, "Okay, so we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this." And then Donna's like, "Yeah, we just talked about it." He's like, "Oh, but yeah, I wrote it on the board, though."
Yeah, that was pretty lame. But you know
That
what?
was not as lame as the selfie guy.
Oh, I
yeah.
said in my
Yeah.
notes that he should have died the very first episode we saw him.
But what about something positive? I thought like Barbara.
Let me
I thought
dig
she
through
was
these
great.
notes real quick, Britt. Let me see if I have any.
Barbara Gordon. I thought she
Mhm.
really they captured the spirit of Barbara Gordon. Now the Oracle Brother Eye merging thing, I thought they should have just called it Brother Eye so she could potentially still be like what I would call the real Oracle at some point. But I thought she did a really good job as Barbara Gordon. And if they just gave us a true, like no joking about it, Nightwing and Barbara Gordon show, I would be into that. I think that would have a lot of potential.
I agree. I gotta say she was fantastic, and I didn't know what we were going to get from her. But every scene, she actually cared. Now I can't fault some of the things she had to say. Like she didn't write those things, but like Brent said, her performance was great. I loved the whole thing of we got her after her encounter with Joker. Like I like that. We get some reference to sometimes she had back with Batman. And like I said, we get some very cool action pieces with her in the wheelchair, and it's great. There's no
Still no confirmation of if she was Batgirl. Just
Hey,
putting
I don't
that
know
out
why
there.
we're questioning that. I don't know
Yeah.
where that is to be questioned. Look at the way she's trained. She didn't just pick that up because she was a cat burglar that one time.
I thought their chemistry was very good together. Whenever they were on screen, you definitely could tell there was a past relationship, even though fleeting at that point. They definitely cast her very well off of him.
same thing. Like they go well together, like Hawk and Dove. But I also love the little tease we get of like I assume that's setting up Corey and Dick, but with this show, they might forget about what they put into that episode. That kind of set it reminded me a little bit of the book myself and Clay read, the New World Order.
Didn't
Oh,
Corey
yeah.
and Dick already hook up in like season 1?
Yes,
Yeah,
They did the
Okay.
very first season. Yeah.
That kind of makes it seem like they're going to be together in the end there.
One of the things I found, and Clay will probably there's somewhat to be said that what's going on in the comics with Fear State, this had some Fear State kind of ideas going on.
I made the comment not more so on here because we don't really talk modern comics here.
Yeah.
As far as like ongoing stuff, but on Batman News Weekly, I did make the comment that it was hard to get into the story of Titans because I'm reading Batman right now in comics.
And I hate to say it, I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of Fear State, but it's definitely way better.
It's more coherent than this show.
Yes.
And I will like with that, Like, and I guess it's the same kind of writing in the sense of like, this isn't something that is like written and then the very next day played out onto screen.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like Tynan has had this kind of idea of Fear State in comics or whatever, and probably had time to draw it out a little bit more than these people did on season 3 of Titans. And we also have to give them the benefit of the doubt, I guess, with this being a COVID production.
I'll give them the action during this COVID. Like they were in the middle right when COVID just hit, and the action. I wouldn't be able to tell as much as I can with some CW shows if they were filmed during quarantine or not. I found that the action was very good for this, and I just love that. But we don't get enough of that to carry this show. This is not an action heavy show.
I don't
really,
think it
for me.
necessarily has to be.
If it's well written.
I think if it's well written, it can be a really good show. There is some things that I wrote down here. Let's see here. The 42069 joke did not like whatsoever.
I didn't mind that.
It was just again
It was
just nailing.
lame. It was just lame.
Yeah,
It was nailing the
beating a dead horse.
the immaturity of Red Hood, but we were also getting it with Scarecrow for the majority of the season anyway. So it's just like, why do you have to keep doing it? Like you said, Travis, beating a dead horse, basically. I honestly said, hey, look, it's Bruce. I wonder if he'll kill Jason. Damn it, he didn't kill Jason.
I have to say, I did like the ending sequence between the
there
two.
was a conversation between the two, and what it was supposed to be is the actual conversation that the Red Hood in comics, and then more continuity wise of what people are known for Red Hood, was supposed to be. Because there's the famous line, if anybody's watched the Under the Red Hood cartoon animated movie, he says, like, he killed me and you did nothing. Like, all you had to do was this for me. And he asks Bruce straight up in this episode, in this finale, hey, when you killed Joker, did you do it for me?
Yeah.
He said yes. He said thank you, and then they went their separate ways.
Well, and also I like the line, coming from 3 Jokers too. It's one thing that I actually did like about it, in the sense of Jason talking with Barbara and saying, what I was most upset is when I came back, nobody checked on me. Nobody asked, nobody tried to see, nobody tried to do anything. Okay, yeah, you're murdering a whole bunch of people, so it's kind of hard to do that. But I think he's more talking about after I kind of get my head sort of on straight, nobody kind of tried to sit down and have a conversation with me about how everything went.
And that is why I think there is going to be a spinoff.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is going to be a reflection on Red Hood to have that redemption and for them to come back. But I have a question.
Red Hood
for
and
you
the
guys.
Outlaws as well, which would be not too shabby of a thing to spin off if you could do it well.
If you can do it well, but again, this it's very crazy how I'm making CW jokes on HBO Max shows. But because we're kind of going all over the place, how did you guys feel? Did the tone change from the moment? Because I feel like the tone completely changed once they threw the Purple Rain out into Gotham.
Rain.
I can't believe they actually said it though. That was the one thing that I was just like, you just can't leave things alone. Like they always have to just like they have to acknowledge everything, and it just So do you guys feel like the tone change from that moment was organic? Because I didn't feel like it was. I just felt like it was kind of like a flip of a switch.
No, I thought it worked because they just wrapped up that nonsense of the Scarecrow, and you can get back to normal. I didn't mind it actually. That was one of the things that actually kind of worked for me. Now it's hard to go from a tone that you set for 12 and a half episodes to change it on a dime there. I thought the way they wrapped it up wasn't as good for me, of just him punching him. That was okay, but just because he spun and he didn't even
I think I was more annoyed that they wrapped everything up in half of the time for this finale, and then the rest of the finale was them in this new tone change. Like hey, everything's fine now. We're the Titans. This is the Titans that everybody knows and loves. We're going to move forward with that. But it took an extra 30 minutes to do that.
Well, like he says, as long as if it stay with this tone change, then that could be good. If it goes back to grim, everyone dying and so much violence,
Well, I do think that is very on the nose I think it's as far as I feel like probably the writers and everybody in the production saw the reactions to seasons 1 and 2 about how dark it is, and everybody made the jokes about it. They're like, okay, well then let's shift the tone into our next few seasons. So I do feel like this is like and it's very symbolic with what happens at the end of this season, with Raven putting literally all the darkness of seasons 1, 2, and 3 into Crane. If you notice the flashes of whatever when Crane was going crazy, it's scenes from seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I think one, they no more Bruce Wayne. This, it's not necessary anymore. If we want a clean break from anything,
next season, Wonder Woman.
Sure, why not? Let's everyone have a mentor season at that. Everyone needs a chance at that point. But I think that's one key element is like, okay, let's move away from Gotham. Let's move away Bruce Wayne at that point. Let's, I think we're going to see obviously some new members, one of them obviously being Tim, but really limiting it to 2, maybe 3 with whoever is going to remain on from the main group. So
I thought Tim, I liked his character. I don't like the story with him though. I don't like that his parents are all gung ho for him to be doing this stuff. I did not like that. I don't like that he's like imprinted on Donna. Like he just follows her around now. And I'm like, no, you were supposed to be wanting to work with the Batman. And it's like, if you're Bruce Wayne, if you're Batman, why do you care about this kid at all? Like, why? There's nothing there.
Yeah.
They've had no interaction. Like, it's like they tried to take everything that made Tim and Bruce connect and apply it to just Tim and Dick, which is like, no, they had their own connections, which is what helped Dick accept him into it. But
yeah,
I don't like what they're doing with him. And it really makes me sad because now I'm like, you've got my Superboy, you've got my Robin. They're both on this show. And I'm like, you're both going off the rails. Superboy started real strong. I think he's going off the rails with his whole tech building thing. Like, it worked once when he was trying to get rid of the bomb and like follow it. Once,
Travis.
But suddenly he can like remember it all. No, I don't think that's that. I thought that was ridiculous. He's like a year old.
Belt, he'll feel better.
He does need leg belt. You're absolutely right, because his costume is as comic accurate as it is. It's stupid, but I've always hated that costume. Tim Drake to me was like a big disappointment because I didn't necessarily need him to be in the costume yet, but I felt like he needed to do both more and less at the same time. Less with the Titans, more with Bruce. And I guess that goes back to part of the problem, goes to what Chris said. We don't need this much Bruce Wayne. We don't need one. Can anybody even potentially realistically believe he's a current Batman? No, it doesn't work. He could play Batman, or he could play Bruce Wayne in a Batman Beyond scenario, but I do not believe that he suited up and went and killed the Joker.
And here's the thing: another reason why you don't need him next season is like, okay, Dick's moved on. Dick's become who he's become. He's dropped the Robin persona. We've gone through that. He's adopted Nightwing. He's finally figured out how to be his own man at that point, and he fulfilled Bruce's thing of being a better Batman at that point. So he's done everything he does. He doesn't need to be with Bruce Wayne anymore. An occasional check-in. Okay, fine. Well, why not? Batman sells. It is what it is. But he does not need to be any part of next season, period.
Well, which means he probably will. No, I'm just kidding. So I guess
I'm not gonna say that, because I mean, all of our predictions I feel like were completely wrong. I thought they were gonna be hinting at the fact that Nightwing was gonna be turning into Batman. Thankfully, that didn't happen.
Missed that prediction.
I don't know exactly. I feel like I do know, and I don't know where season 4 could even go at this point. You know,
Argus is basically the main thing that.
you guys think it's going to be a full road trip season?
Oh God,
I
no.
don't know if I want that.
No, I don't want.
Just because of like COVID and everything, you could easily use like volume technology to.
Oh,
have
this
road
show's
trip
not
scenarios.
using anything ballroom.
the main question I have for you guys before you end up bailing because this is such a terrible discussion of a show. Will you give this season 4 an opportunity? Will you try the first episode, or are you just
Yes.
done with this show?
I'll try just because again I like some of the characters. I want to give it a seeing like it'll be the first 3 episodes because we know that's what they're going to end up doing at that point. I will give it the first 3 episodes, but if it doesn't hook me with those first 3 episodes showing that they've learned from mistakes, like we keep on hoping and praying from mistakes, but yeah, I'll at least give it the 3 episodes drops, and then if it doesn't hook me, I've got much better things to do than to waste my time again.
Brent?
I don't know. It.
Brit has
hand-
not shied away from giving up on shows, by the way.
How many? I mean, how many episodes do you have to give a show before you give up on it? You know, this is 3 full seasons, and but at the same time, we've seen other shows before come back from a god awful season and turn around with a really good one, or even just if it's not god awful, a season that is not up to par with the previous ones, turn
Arrow.
it around and come out.
Season 4.
Right, season 4 of Arrow. I like it, but it's unquestionably the weakest season of the show. It's by far the weakest, and they come around and they give you an amazing season 5, right? It is possible. At a bare minimum, they get a trailer. I mean, I would probably have to like hate the trailer and hate any news that comes out of San Diego or something like that for me to not at least watch the first episode realistically. Because hey, I like comic books. I like
John's
television.
not lying here.
Yep, he's not.
Clone Wars took 4 seasons to be good. But John, I will say this. One thing that will immediately push me to watch season 4 as soon as it debuts, tell me that comic book writers are going to be touching this next season.
I'll just tell you this. Don't feel like you need to review it every week on the show. And I'm not committing to coming back for the season 4 finale.
Now, and I know there's already going to be a lot of people telling me that Brian Edward Hill writes some episodes and Jeff John does this or Jeff John does that. Like, clearly, whatever they are writing, it is not working. Like, it clearly is not doing great for this show. I'm not saying that. I mean, if you want to bring Marv, maybe he can write something for the show, but I don't know how well he does for script writing on shows. I know what he does in comics and stuff that I like, but I don't know if it can translate within this kind of medium, you know? But if you can give me something, I mean, Chris, we're reading a whole bunch from Higgins right now. Higgins knows Nightwing. He knows the teenage mind of characters. Bring him on for a few episodes, you know.
God, what does he even have time to fit it in?
I know, for
God.
real. He's a busy guy, but I mean, you need to be looking at writers like that though, that know the medium and that know the subject, and you know, because again, clearly, whatever these writers are doing for this show, it is not working.
That means Clay is a hard maybe.
I will say this. I've already, me and Juice over at Batman News Weekly have already said we're not going to be reviewing it on that show. If we decide to review it on this show, that just means that I don't have to watch it on Thursday. It means I can wait until Monday morning.
We may look at the premiere, but I don't know. I've kind of been kicked down. I'll watch it, but we'll reserve judgment to review it.
Yes, we will.
So, Chris and Brent, thank you for. Do I want to say thank you? Thank you for joining us, but not thank you for kind of make the best with us to make
You needed
us,
content. We were just helping,
You're-
and we're
You're
sorry.
right. And you're rolling awesome Disney Plus shows.
You should have just gone with Superman and Lois.
Yeah,
Well,
really.
we did that.
I mean, weekly though. That's what we should have
Yeah.
done.
No,
Maybe
we'll be
next,
back.
maybe
We'll be
next
back for the
season.
one.
But
Boys, thank you.
thank you guys so much for
Yep.
joining us.
No
You
problem.
I guess we are still reviewing Stargirl and Doom Patrol after this.
Yes, we are.
All right, cool. Well, we will go ahead and let you guys go. We'll take an ad break and then finish up the show.
All right, see you guys.
Later.
See you later. All right. Well, that was fun. Thank God it's over. Let's go ahead and take our possibly last ad break. And we will be right back. And we are back. Apologize for the dog. He's cranky. So
I watch Titans, or maybe you made him watch Titans with you.
No, he was watching Doom Patrol with me, and he does not like Robot Man at all.
Clay, I don't know. Like, I was so confused at most of this episode. There's some stuff I enjoyed, but I
will be honest. I didn't finish this episode. I had like maybe 10 minutes left, I think, before I had to go pick up dinner. It was horrible. But from what I did see, I'm fine with reviewing it now, and you can tell me the ending. I'll finish it immediately after this. I have no problem with knowing what's going to happen. But again, the one thing that I love about Doom Patrol that I hate about Titans is the fact that Doom Patrol can actually have character arcs, can actually choose between this vast cast of characters and say, hey, we're going to develop you throughout this season. We're getting it with Robot Man. We're getting these moments of like, he is finding a new addiction. Now, I think these addictions with gambling, with spending money, with whatever he was doing,
online
like
call girl.
Yeah, online call girls. Like, I think
cam girls. Sorry, see, that's how much I know of it.
Same thing. But like, I think all of that is of like, because Niles isn't there to kind of ring him in, and he kind of needs that supervision, because if you remember in the very first season, seeing who he was before Robot Man was not the sharpest tool in the shed, and he wasn't the greatest person.
Oh, he just wasn't the greatest person. I don't know. I think he was more so not the smartest, but more so the drunkest person in the shed all the time. Because like, I don't doubt that he's kind of smart, but can get a lot. I won't call him stupid. That's what I meant to say. But you are right. Like, especially alcohol. When we saw those flashbacks back then. But I do enjoy, like you said, the character arcs. His character arc is great. I'm actually enjoying the fact that there's so much tension between him and his wife's, partner, and the fact that he's still shaking a bit. And it all comes back, like you said, to Niles, because Niles would have probably figured out the shaking if he was there. But no, there's no Niles, and now it seems like it's for every person in the group. Clay, when you said that about Niles, it kind of the light bulb went off, and every person in the group would be at a different place if Niles was there.
Yeah, 100%. The only thing that I don't think, the only person I don't think would change much is Cyborg. I know I dog on Cyborg almost every single episode. This was a little bit more personal for him, and I actually dug this story of him trying to make this very tough decision on whether he wants to get the synthetic skin or not. Meaning that if he does, he needs to completely get rid of his armor, of everything cybernetic, other than his organs, of course.
Yeah.
So that's kind of heavy, and I actually do like this story.
And Clay, what do? They go back to the previous season, bring back the relationship that he had with Ronnie. And what does he do when she says you need to consult somebody that you love and care about?
Yeah.
Boom, brings her in. strengthening the bond that we already had back then. What in the hell is she doing? I don't
Yeah,
know.
she like was in the
She's
woods or whatever. She
arming
was like,
up. She's arming
sh-
up to
sh-
go take
now
down
the
something.
last we heard from her, she was like, she was a wanted individual. Like
Yeah.
people were chasing after her. Star Labs, a whole bunch of people. But I don't know. Like I don't know if they will move that story forward at all, or if it'll remain a mystery.
Well, they just snapped. They snapped Cyborg and brought him right to the house out of
Yeah.
nowhere. So we don't get no conclusion to. I wonder, will he go back and get the procedure again, or I think he'll just accept who he is.
Yeah, I think a lot of times because this storyline, as far as like accepting who he is, I feel like is a very big trope with Cyborg, which isn't a bad thing because in those different mediums that it has been told reaches different audiences, and I think it's still a great story.
Yeah.
But the one that I remember is the one from the original Teen Titans cartoon. I think that episode where he kind of just accepts like, hey, yeah, I'm different, but I'm Cyborg, you know? I think that episode did really, really well, but it ultimately, he ultimately made the decision of like, hey, I'm not going to change who I am because this is who I've become. This is who I am. So I think the same conclusion will be made here for Cyborg for sure. Now, Jane, Crazy Jane, haven't called her that in a while. Her story with Kay
Yeah.
and the other personas, I was not expecting this. The whole thing was, you know, we saw last episode, Kay tried to go buy shoes, didn't work out all that well because she got distracted by a bike. And then here she tells this story of how like in the underground they gave her a bike, but somebody took it away. And it is basically a bullying fest because these other personas, these other entities inside Kay's mind have now turned. They are essentially like, hey, yeah, our job is to protect her, but who is protecting us?
And you want to
And
know
it's all
why
about
that
me,
happens?
me for them.
You want to know why that happens, Clay? Because of what we got before with the person killing some of these personalities. And now the personalities are like,
well,
yeah,
okay,
no,
so
that's not happening.
remind me or tell me if I'm wrong here. There was another therapist within the underground, but she
Yeah.
died, right?
Yeah.
That she was a redhead, I think. And then
Yeah, I
now
think
this
she was in the pool or well.
okay, and then now this new one is
Yeah.
here, and I do not like her.
Oh no, not one bit. Not
I
one
don't
bit.
like her at all.
No.
Because
But maybe that's what we're going for. It reminds me of that teacher from Harry Potter.
Oh yeah.
The
I was
contrary
thinking
one, my
more
girlfriend's
of
gonna
if
be like,
anybody's seen the movie Matilda, kind of thinking that too.
yeah. Oh,
the
Matilda,
principal.
what a
Yeah.
great movie.
So like it's just like it's crazy how I feel like we still have a lot to learn about the underground. There has been a lot given to us as an audience, but I still feel like there's a lot to explore there. And it's still, again, people may not like the show because of how sporadic we jump around to these characters, but for the show, it just works. And I love it. I love learning all these different things. And it makes me want to keep watching the show to get those small interactions with these characters because they're characters that I'm really enjoying, you know?
Same here, Clay. And like you said, because they established this since episode 1 and episode 2, the zaniness and the going all over the place. But it works here because these characters are not your typical characters, first of all, and secondly, it's very, very well written. It makes sense. The stuff that they say is consistent throughout this. The actions they have are consistent. The things in the show are consistent for for as consistent as they can be for this zaniness. But there's always a method, and I gotta say, like I enjoyed a lot of this. And when you break down each individual characters, the one thing I don't understand is why Larry put the parasite in the backyard. Like, why didn't you just destroy it? That is something that.
So I think again, relationships. So the one person that would always kind of be at his side was Rita.
Yeah.
Rita's not there. Rita's in the past, which I can't necessarily tell how much time has passed when
She doesn't age though.
I know she doesn't.
Yeah.
But like, and I know it has to do with time travel. Like they're still living life and she's progressing through time. Is she going to eventually get to a point where they meet again?
That
Or, like-
happened that happens in this episode.
Oh, it
That's
does
the end
at,
of it.
At the end of it. Okay, so tell me. What?
Yeah.
what-
So
like, how exactly
she's
does it work
part
out?
of the group of data.
Okay.
And they essentially what they're worrying about throughout the episode, they invade the house and they bring them all to this random path somewhere. And in the did you see? Okay, so you didn't see that.
So the last thing I saw was Madame Rouge trying to leave the house, and she kept on going like back.
Okay, so you
And like
this
she
is
threw
a
the
little bit of
bag,
that.
and she was like, "Aha!" So there's the way out. And then
So
she
the
jumped
guy
into
that
it.
the guy that Rita is in a relationship with in
Yes.
the past, essentially Madame Rouge and all the Bureau of Normalcy come to take those people and make them into weapons in that little gathering that they were trying to invite her to.
Yeah.
So they all come and take them, and they are reluctant, don't want it to happen. And the guy who was applying for a job as an accountant goes to shoot Rita because she wouldn't sit down, and the guy stands in front and gets shot, her boyfriend, and he dies. Then she kind of snaps and leaves, and then they all are part of this group that bring her to this reckoning, which is a bird cage with an egg in it. Because you see,
well, that
he
makes
is a
sense
bird.
for
He's a bird.
Yeah.
So then
Makes
the
sense
egg
for
explodes.
the title of the episode too, Bird Patrol.
So the egg
okay.
explodes. Birds go everywhere. The group that Rita is a part of disappears into smoke. The guys the Doom Patrol don't know what's going on, and then these birds hit them and make them disappear, and that's how the episode ends.
What the hell?
Yeah,
Okay.
you may have to watch it after. But it's all over the place, but I am enjoying it.
I'm enjoying the last two episodes a little bit more than I was the beginning of the season. So the beginning of the season was weird, and then we got the detective boys, the ghost detectives, and I really liked that episode. And then after that, it started to kind of be all over the place. This episode I really enjoyed. So hopefully it keeps going on that high rise, and we can come out with a solid season finale for this one.
Fingers crossed.
But we are now at the
last thing.
The last thing is Stargirl, but what is this? Is this the penultimate, or is there still
I think there's
2 more episodes?
2 more episodes. I think there's chapter 13 is
the end, right?
Yeah.
And wasn't this 12?
This was 11.
Ah, man. Okay. So 11. So listeners, breaking the fourth wall here. Me and Travis, I'm not going to tell you what we recorded, but we did.
I did tell him already.
Okay, so we recorded some Young Justice, and after we were done, I was talking about how I still needed to watch Stargirl and everything else. So you said, "Oh, well, something in particular happens at the very end of this episode." I liked it. I wanted more, and I think that's still a good thing. It's still a good thing. But this episode is the Purgatory episode. And they dropped the name Purgatory. I think it was Cindy who was like, what's the biblical term for this? Purgatory. Yeah, whatever. I like the season 1 callback with the I forgot the villain's name.
Joey.
Yeah, well, Joey was the son, and then his dad was the villain, and then the wife killed herself.
Yeah.
But like all of those memories hit me like as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh no, this is not going to end well. But I enjoyed this whole thing, and it was very, very interesting how Dr. Midnighter is wearing these goggles and chooses to be in complete darkness compared to what he would be seeing without them, because he does tell oh shoot,
He gives Courtney.
Courtney. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. He tells Courtney like everything you see here is an illusion made by Eclipso.
Well,
Like
he
this
lets her see the glasses, so we get an idea as
of what
the
he is
audience.
looking at. Yeah, exactly.
And you can hear in his mind, all you can hear is his son's name. So
Yeah, and kind of hear like the son playing and giggling, and like it's just like very hurtful for him, just for the fact of bringing back all those dark memories. But this was a very now the whole thing with Cindy like having to go through the stuff with her father, like we kind of already knew all that stuff, so that storyline wasn't necessarily needed. But I understand this was her purgatory. This was her getting tortured by Eclipso. So I understand why they told that story. Now, oh shoot, Shadows, freaking, what's his name?
Shade.
Yeah, Shade. Sorry, Shadows. Jesus, it's late, guys. So Shade, he's not dead. I don't think so.
I don't know. I hope not. I think he's going to come in the end and kind of snake the diamond, or snake just end up being the villain. But they have done a lot of work in this episode, including establishing that he's not a bad guy. So I don't
Yes.
know I don't think they're going to go back on that.
Well, they said it was complicated. Is what the phrasing of when it comes to his allegiance. You know, Dr. Midnighter said it. Pat said it. It's complicated. It's complicated.
Well,
But
Dr. Midnighter actually says that he was a good man and that he
Oh, that's
came
true.
to visit
Yeah.
him, and they shared a bottle. He apologized, said he knew Eclipso was around and did nothing, so he felt responsible, and then he left. And then he also mentions that when the ISA attacked, he got rid of Dr. Midnighter, put him in the Shadow Realm,
Yeah.
just to try and save him. So those are a lot of things. And then what he does what Clay is kind of hinting there, but not thinking he's dead, he uses all his remaining shade power, we'll call it, or shadow power, and just to give a bridge for Courtney to be able to escape.
But I will say this: the last time he burst into shadows, like he did in the end of this episode, he just disappeared for a little bit, and he came back.
Well,
Now,
they
he
mentioned
did
that
have-
was
he
in
did
two
have the
separate
whole-
places. They mentioned that he was in two separate places when they were trying to track him.
Yeah,
So I don't know if we don't know. That could be whatever. I don't know.
yeah. But excuse me, for the fact that like he gave this whole little monologue and then was talking to Courtney's mom and was like, "Oh, tell everybody that I died doing something good." You know, the whole villain turning good type of
I haven't
monologue.
seen that in a while though. Like the dying wish to just which it worked for me. I enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
it's a nice trope, but like you said, it's something that hasn't been played a whole lot. With recently anyway.
Yeah.
Which I could appreciate as well, because there are tropes that are beaten into the ground sometimes. But this episode was solid. I really dug it. I do get annoyed with seeing Jade sometimes because I just know the reason why we see Jade more than we see the possibility of her father is the fact that the Green Lantern show has Alan in it, and so we won't see him in this show at all.
Well, you're not going to see any. Well, I'm glad they've softened their stance because we didn't get a end of the movie of Zack Snyder's Justice League. We didn't get Green Lantern because they were using
snap.
Green
Do you know what I
Lantern.
just thought of?
What?
They said that Shade was in two different spots. Jade's brother has shadow powers.
Ooh, that could be the other person that they're detecting.
Yeah. Especially with Jade being the one that was showing the map. Ooh.
Nice. I like that. So maybe we
Ooh.
will get some.
I just thought about that too. That
I
would
didn't
be
even
kind of
think
cool.
about that. So you get a
That
live.
that would be kind of cool. Her brother, like I said, is basically like the Shade.
Yeah.
I just recently read a story about him in I believe Infinite Frontier. Very, very recent. I think it's only like a 99-cent book on Comixology if anybody wants to read it, and I think it's already on the DC Infinite app as well.
Okay.
But that would be cool, because let's say Shade is dead, but they need somebody like Shade in order to help defeat Eclipso, and then he would be there. I
The
think that would be
only
kind of cool.
thing that worries me there is we're going to get a meeting of Jade and her brother for the first time, and we have 2 episodes left. I don't know how they thread the needle on that and keep it going. Although
They
I'm
will
just
do
worried
it in
about Titans. Titans has me extra worried, but
they will do
Stargirl
it in
did the job last
CW
season.
they will do it in CW fashion. But the best thing about CW fashion is that those characters will linger, and so in the next season they could still build up his character.
And
Which,
what Clay was talking about and what I was hinting at him is at the end we have Courtney come through, Sydney come through, and also Dr. McNider came
Yes.
through and hugs Pat. And I'm calling it now. We're going to get a recreation of that shot that we saw multiple times of Dr. McNider, The Flash, Starman, and Wildcat.
huh?
Or maybe it's not Wildcat. I'm not sure. No, the pin guy. Maybe I can't remember who. There was 4 of them, but I think we'll get multiple characters appearing in the finale. Multiple JSA members who disbanded after the Eclipso event.
I mean, I could see it happen.
Yeah.
I could see it happen for sure. And you know what? That could be, because we all know the whole point of all this will end up being like, hey, we don't have to kill in order to defeat Eclipso.
Yeah.
And it'll basically be like, hey guys, you know how you did this? We're gonna be the better JSA. Like, not so on the nose and not very arrogant like that, but it will be like, hey, look, if you just stick together as a team, you can come up with a way. Because that's the big thing. The JSA was divided in their decision, while I think this new JSA will be a complete unit when they finally make the decision on how to defeat Eclipso.
Props to, I have to say this, Beth standing up for herself, shutting down her parents, and going off and handling
Yes.
that. Like, Beth is really starting to grow from she still need to work on some sort of figuring out a way to be useful when there's fights going on. But
Yes.
besides that, I've been enjoying it's been stronger stuff for her character the last couple episodes. But Clay, I thought that was a great episode. Like I said to you before, when we talked about Young Justice, I told you I was like, this was a pretty good episode. I was, I was just after watching Titans too, so I said to you I wasn't sure if it was just coming just after watching Titans, but no, I think it was right. I think that's everything, Clay. Me and Snell touched the DC news while you were.
I was in line getting food. I was watching everything. Snell, I am always watching, just so you know.
And now that I have the job, the trivia thing will be above board. You know me. I'm hoping I thought somebody, like I was telling Snell, so I can actually.
Now, see, I'm not going to hint at anything diabolical like Snell, but I know you will do the right thing in making it very fair for everybody involved. It's going to be very, very interesting. Of course, I'm still going to kick Snell's ass, but it is for the children. So again, remember, guys, November 6th, charity stream, 24 hours. I'm not exactly sure the exact times for the trivia battle, but stay tuned. We will have more information as we get nearer to that date. But with that,
another announcement next week. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? But with that, guys, thank you again for listening. No more Titans. Thank God. I at least have Young Justice to watch every single Thursday, and Doom Patrol, of course. But of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay. The link tree is always there. I host DC Alliance, of course, Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion podcast, Weird Science, Marvel, DC, and manga, as well as the Ranger Alliance, and of course the newly added Star Wars Alliance, which I am so excited to talk about this week with the return of Hayden Christensen. So where can they find you?
Super. I just take one more moment to be like, I love that. I love Hayden Christensen, so I couldn't be more excited. Oh my God. They can find me at Travis_156 on Twitter. You can drop me a line. We can chat about DC anytime. Like Clay said earlier, and like I said at the opening of the show, superhero discussions this week will have Young Justice 3 episodes, and look for some special guests in some superhero discussions episodes going forward. We may have some people joining for some great discussions. And the best thing about that is we're just doing one episode, so it's not going to be a super gigantic long episode, but they're good to get out weekly, and I can't wait to see what this show is going to get into for this season.
Yeah.
Listeners, thank you for joining us for Chapter 75. We'll see you next week. Thanks for supporting Geek Ultimate Alliance Network.
See you.